A strategic sales plan could help you land better clients. Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek. It's been a real cold winter up in the Northeast. I mean, it's snowing. It's cold pretty much all over the country. So officially, this past weekend, Florida has become the most hated state in the union. We had temperatures in the low 70s during the day, went down into the high 50s at night, and of course, the next day, everybody had their boots and their earmuffs and their coats. And you guys have gotten up in the Northeast way over a foot of snow and sleet and ice, and it is a mess. So we apologize from the South for what you're going through, and please do not hate us anymore. But thank you. Thank you for being here today on the Pest Geek podcast. I want to talk to you about strategic sales plan for your business. And but before I get into that, I want to thank a couple of people. I want to thank Joshua Bloom from New York, New York. We're going to be in the Northeast today, and likes the podcast on Facebook. Thank you for liking the podcast. And also Black Diamond Pest from Jeffersonville, Indiana. Black Diamond Pest has a really cool phone number. It's 877-DEAD-BUG. Nice going, guys. Thank you for following us on Twitter. And if you're hearing this podcast for the first time, you can join the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, also on Google+. You can join us there and check us out, and join the podcast and join the society. Share your knowledge, your talent, your tips with the rest of us. And also, if you want to be on the podcast, if you like to be a guest, or you like to leave a comment or a question, you can just give us a call at 707-395-7378, 24/7 recorded line. You can also go to the website, and there's a contact form, and contact us there through the website. Look us up at Pest Geek Podcast, one word, pestgeekpodcast.com. And there you can get more information, and there's a tool section, some tips, some extra stuff going on the site. But yeah, I wanted to talk about strategic sales, because most people don't know what strategic sales is. They haven't been exposed to it, and it is a wonderful way for you to get better clients, to land the customers that you want in the market you want. In the type of industry you want. It's a great way to target select customers. And if you read, magazines on sales, or you'll read a blog, or you'll read something in the industry, and somebody will write something like, hey, it takes an average of 12 calls to close a sale. And you're thinking to yourself, this is ludicrous. This is nuts. How does it take 12 calls to a client to close them? Well, the reasoning is that most of our sales that we perform on a day-to-day basis isn't strategic sales. What it is you're in a neighborhood, you have your truck parked in the front of a house, somebody drives up and says, hey, I live down the block, and I saw your truck, and I'm having a problem with ants. Can you come over and give us an estimate? And you run over there after you're done, you give them the estimate, you talk to them for a couple minutes, and they'll say, well, let me talk to my wife, and I'll give you a call back sometime tomorrow. And you follow up that the next day with that client, and they're going to tell you yes or no. They're going to tell you, yeah, it's fine, come on and do it, or no, it seemed like too much for us, and we're looking at another company, or we're doing this or we're doing that. And you pretty much, after you call them after a week, you would say, well, when can I call you back? And you call them back after a week, and they say, well, we still haven't decided, or yeah, we already decided on a company. Thank you very much. And pretty much after that, they're going to be either closed by somebody else, they're going to buy from you, or they're going to decide really to do nothing and try doing this, this issue themselves. So really about 1 to 3 calls. What you fail to understand is the people that write these columns or write these articles for a lot of these magazines, they're mostly strategic sales reps. They're account executives sometimes at large firms, or they handle high-level clients that takes anywhere from 6 to 12 calls, sales calls. And we're going to clarify what a sales call is to close a deal, to get something. And in cases, it's more than that. I've done strategic sales. I've also done one-time sales. I've done lead generation. I've done cold calling. It's really, strategic sales is about a long-term strategy on how you're going to bring in the clients that you want. And I'll give you an example of this in the field. Let's say you're going to start doing residential services. Let's go really the low end of the sales scale in residential services for general household pests, which is the most common. And you target a territory. You target a territory where the houses are somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 to $1 million. Okay? And this is probably most exemplified by people who do a lot of real estate. It's called farming. And you land one customer. Okay, now what most people do, or most techs, is they do what is called clover leafing. They'll leave the house in the front, the house on the side, and they might target, 2, 3 houses and leave a flyer on the door every time they stop on in. That's part of strategic sales, but you take this a little bit further. You start with the premise that you want to penetrate that market, because obviously everybody in that marketing isn't about the same income scale. They can all afford to buy your service. There's 3 things that have to be present in order for a sale to take place. Number 1 is there has to be a need, a want, or a desire. You got to be able to solve somebody's problem. Somebody wants something or they need something. And needs are different than wants. Somebody who wants to buy something is going to go out and look for it because they want to buy it. If it's something that it's about a status symbol, like I want to buy a Bentley, you're going to go out and find a Bentley and you're going to buy it. It's a done deal. You've already made up your mind to buy something. What we're talking about in strategic sales is that you're generating a need, a want, or pointing out a problem to somebody in order to get the sale. They haven't expressed an interest. It's part of advertising and it's part of marketing. But you do all 3 in that type of environment. So what you're doing is you've lined up, let's say, down the street, and you're going to do both sides of that street, up and down on that block, every time you're there in that neighborhood. Okay? You get, let's say, 10, 15 houses, something that's manageable. The thing with strategic sales is you have to bring the numbers down to something that is manageable, because you can't target everyone. You don't have the budget. You don't have the time. You just can't target everybody in the world. All right. So you have to be selective. And by picking those houses that are between $500,000 and $1 million in that neighborhood, or let's say they're all $1 million houses, you're going to then have a client that has the ability to pay and most likely the willingness to pay, but they might not know about you, or they might not have a need right now, or they might have a contract right now with another company that they're not prepared to switch. So what you're doing is you're going into that neighborhood every time you're there, and it could be something as simple as this. You leave, on the first time, you leave a flyer or door hanger. The next time that you're there, could be 2 months from now, it could be a month from now, you're going to get those addresses, write them down, and you're going to send everybody a letter to those 10 people. That's manageable. And if you have 10 stops in a neighborhood that you're repeating, well, that can easily turn into a list of 1,000 prospects that you target on a regular basis. The idea is to build up a quality list of people you want to target. Now you have a quality list because those people you have deemed that they're qualified because they can afford it and they might be willing to buy your product. But you're prospecting at this time. So you send them a letter and says, hey, so-and-so buys from us and been buying from us and they're enjoying our services. Would you consider giving us an opportunity to serve you? And you send them a letter. The next time you're back in the neighborhood, maybe there's a car in the driveway. You stop in, you knock on the door. If nobody's there, you leave another flyer or postcard on their door. You might send out a second letter that says, hey, we've been by twice. We've missed you. Sorry we haven't been there. I understand that you're busy, and maybe our service is exactly for people like you because it's designed this way and this way. And you have a second sales letter. So what you do after about 4 of these visits, you have a system of something that you're using to market it that is repetitive. And the key to strategic sales is trying to find what is it going to take to sell them. And in the case of a customer, which is business to consumer, it might just be that repetition. Because people, remember that it takes about 12 to 13 times for people to acknowledge your brand. It might take 10 or 12 or 13 visits. But you're there in that neighborhood, and those are the clients you want. What will happen in a year's time after getting 6 visits from you, 8 visits, 10 visits, 12 visits, that there is a brand recognition? You're the guy that's there on a regular basis. You have been faithful to be there on a regular basis, informing them about your product. When the opportunity comes, they will have a problem. They will have an ant problem. They will have a roach problem. The company that they have is no longer servicing them the way they think they should be. The guy, quit. Something happened. During a year's time, a lot of things happen. Opportunities present themselves. If you're in front of that client on a regular basis, there's going to be a brand recognition. Second thing happens. You land 3 customers on that block. What are they worth to you? They might be worth to you $400, $500, $600 a year. Over 7 years, which is what people keep their house, that's worth to you several $1,000s. But now you have 3 houses on the block, up and down that street. That's a 30% market penetration. In that neighborhood, you get known, and everybody knows you. It's a lot easier to repeat the process down to the next block over time because you can say, listen, we have now 3 customers in the block that are our customers that are enjoying our service. That is a heck of a statistic to throw at a customer. When we are in a neighborhood and we do this and we can tell a customer, we have 75 clients in this development. They're impressed. They're knocked away. Who has 75 clients in a development? But we have over time built up in one development to where we've repeated this process over and over and over and over and over 9 years, where when they say, look, if you want to see, I can take you right now to go look at 75 landscapes. And if they aren't nicer than the neighbors, that's it. I don't have to say anything else. I don't have to kill myself trying to sell because I have enough customers in there that down the street that they'll know who they are. And I call out their name. I says, on this block, I have so-and-so, 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 so-and-so. And I've had them for 7 years. When you have that kind of market penetration, your brand goes through the roof. That's when it's a lot easier to close sales. And that's why a strategic sales is more effective than trying to just here and there hoping you get something. That if you put out an ad or you put out a magazine or you put out on your website, you never know where those sales are going to come from. With this, you can control your market. Let's take it to the commercial environment. Suppose you want to start doing hotels and you're wanting to expand beyond, or you wanted to expand into commercial like restaurants. What do? You buy a list, you get a list, you acquire a list somehow of every restaurant in that city. Suppose you can even go on your local site. Most of the counties, most of the states publish the restaurants that have been shut down for roaches, that have been shut down for some type of problem. You can get a list of customers that you want to target because they're all restaurants, they're all bars, they're all nightclubs, whatever it might be. And you make a call on the phone. You can do that on your route. You start calling up these customers on the phone in between, instead of listening to the radio, instead of listening to music, instead of put it down for a while and decide you're going to make 5 calls a day strategically to those clients. And you call them up and you say, hey, listen, we're so-and-so. We offer this program specifically designed for restaurants. Who are you using now, or do you have a pest control program? If they say yes, great. If they say no, great. If they say, we're just opened up, great. It doesn't matter. The idea is that they know about you and that you can find out, are you guys would be interested in sitting down with us and discussing how we can service you? They might say, well, not right now. Give me a call back. Okay. You make a note. You get some software, something like Salesforce, software that you can track, which is, by the way, the tech tip of the week is salesforce.com. You can check them out. They're the number one CRM software on the market. And you can use them to keep track of every conversation, who you spoke to, what did they say, when did they say it. And if they tell you, call me back in 30 days, you call them back in 30 days. You go out and you send in the mail, says you got their name, you got their address, you got all the information. You send them a sales letter. Hey, it was nice talking to you today. By the way, this is our program. I spoke to you on this day. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You follow that up with a letter. In about 30 days, you give them a call back. You follow it up again. You send them a postcard automatically in the mail about your business. The idea is to get your brand in front of them, but you have a target audience that you are deciding you want to go after them. You decide, hey, I want to go after only steak places. I want to go after only the highest end restaurants in town. What is a list of 100 top restaurants that we can go after? In a year's time, you've been the only guy that's been calling, that's been showing up, that's been sending postcards. You have created top of mind awareness. You've branded yourself as an expert in the restaurant business, because now you're the only one they really see on a regular basis. You see? And now you repeat that process over again. The trick with strategic sales is that you have a process. It isn't perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It never will be. You perfect it over time. But the idea is you get started. You get going. You don't wait until everything is absolutely perfect. That is probably the number one detriment of entrepreneurs, is this perfection mentality that until everything is perfect, until I know everything. Strategic sales is about acquiring intelligence, by acquiring information like who's your number one player in that market, who are you competing with, what is their pricing. You start building up just a mountain of data and information in that system that now you can use. So the sales process is more about learning than it is about pitching a product and closing a sale that day. Because I got news for you, you're not going to do that. If you call on 100 customers a day, you might get one that's interested. You might get 2 that are interested. You might get 10 that are interested. But the whole process is about getting yourself in front and acquiring those customers over a period of time. 6 months to a year. In some cases, it could take longer. If you're going after hotels, it's a lot easier to go after a 60-room hotel than it is to go after a 600-room hotel. You see? So you start building up your credentials. Once you've got 2 clients, you throw that in there. You say, hey, we do so-and-so down the street. When you got a high-end restaurant that you've done, that everybody knows that's a high-end restaurant, other people jump on board. It is a psychological effect that I want to be with those in my circle. And when you create a circle of influence around you about the people that you serve, when I tell them, I do that restaurant down the street and I do that restaurant down the street, oh, well, I know them and, they're very exclusive. So if you're doing them, you must be good. You see, that's the mentality. So it's about repeating a process over and over. It's about getting market penetration a little bit at a time. It's about targeting. And what you do is you make a phone call, you go stop by to visit them, you send a postcard. Phone call, stop by, postcard. Phone call, stop by, postcard. That could be the simple strategy. That's probably the most effective. You're constantly going by. You're saying, hey, we've got a new product. Hey, we're using this new product now. I just wanted to tell you we're using this new service. I just wanted to stop by and tell you. Pretty soon, you're sitting down in front of them with a contract in your hand. That's what strategic sales is really all about. Staying in front of your customer, gathering intelligence, making presentations, asking for the sale every time, over and over and over again. What it's going to require a fundamental paradigm shift in your thinking to switch from, that easy sale that somebody stops you on the road to actually doing prospecting, to actually doing cold calling. That's where the money is. Anybody can sit in a company, okay, while the company spends tens of thousands of dollars a month, 5 to 10% of their budget on advertising, to get you 1 to 200 leads a month, and then so you can go out and close 50% of those leads because they came in. Anybody can really do that. What's really going to set you apart is your ability to go out and get the client you want versus taking the client that somebody else gives you. And that's the difference, because now you control the quality. You control the message. You can control what's happening in the sales process. And I found this to be, it's tedious. It requires discipline. You have to do it every single day. You can't just do it when you have time. You have to create time to do it. I used to do this when I had one technician, and I got the technician. I would leave him working in the property, and I would go down the street 20, 30 minutes, be back, and you'll double your sales in a year. If you do that and you hire one technician, you're there with that new customer, and you're saying, by the way, my technician is going to be doing the work. I'm going to be right outside. I'll be back in a minute. And that's a way to get your customers to build trust, to build a relationship with that new technician while you're building up new business. If you already have business and you already have 2 or 3 routes, you might want to hire a strategic sales manager to do nothing but this and focus on this. It isn't really rocket science. It comes down to 3 things: persistence, persistence, and persistence. And that's why it takes 12 calls on average to close these deals, because you're doing cold calling, you're doing the prospecting, you're doing the proposals, you're doing the selling. And all that is a process, and there are steps. And in each one of those steps, that's a sales call that you're making to that. So that's how you get 12 on average. Here's the problem. The average salesperson that has no experience in this will get discouraged after they've called them 3 times. And the person says, yeah, we're not buying. I already told you last time we're not buying. The seasoned sales rep understands that that's a smokescreen, that eventually they're going to need to buy. Eventually, they're going to buy from you. The idea is to change it up. Don't always have the same routine. Come at it from another angle. Find out who the real players are. And if you get a restaurant chain that has 36 restaurants and has a CEO of that corporation, and they manage 12 different restaurants in your city, or 20 restaurants, that's good. You're going to end up with a lot of gatekeepers. You're going to have to overcome a lot of objections. You're gonna have to find out who the real decision maker is. You're gonna end up with somebody who is a no-po, a person that has no power to make a decision. They're just a front for the man, so that you don't get a hold of that person. It requires that persistence to go after that kind of business. And if you discipline yourself and you're persistent, you will prevail, because, again, you're gonna be the brand they recognize. That's the issue about that. And I think, to me, in an age of technology, in an age of where everything is so impersonal, where people are used to just clicking here and add clicks, in a lot of small businesses, that personal touch, that old-fashioned sales works really, really, really well to this day, because guess what? Human beings have really not changed that much in 100 years. So guys, I wish you all the success in the world. I wish you well. I stay warm. Don't get frostbite. And I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.